Good evening, esteemed colleagues and other audience. Let me introduce the topic of today, the various initiatives by the Government of India to bolster the growth, including the Startup India, Stand Up India, Make in India, Mudra Bank, and professional opportunities emanating out of such key initiatives for the chartered accountants as well as for the stakeholders. And in this very grand initiative by the ICI to be a part of the initiatives of the Government of India, we have with us none other than Honorable President ICI, C.A. Devaraja Reddy ji, Honorable Vice President ICI, C.A. Nilesh Vikamsi ji, and the representative of the government as well as our member, a very learned faculty, C.A. Mahaveer Singhvi ji, Director, Ministry of External Affairs. So may I, without spending more time, may I request directly Honorable President Devaraja Reddy ji to kindly address on this very important initiative of the government and joining by the ICI. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Tarunji. Dear friends across the country who are watching this webcast, Chairman Tarunji, my good friend and Honorable Vice President Nilesh Vikamsi, another good friend from Ministry of External Affairs Director for the Mahaveer Singhvi, who is very close to me for the last 6 years. The moment I joined in the council, he has become a very close associate for Committee for Entrepreneurship for Public Service, along with our Railway Minister Suresh Babu. We had a lot of visionary thoughts and thought process. The two members, one is Mahaveer Singh, other is Suresh Babu, always are helping the institute in a different ways. Even the council, we are not taking their views very seriously, but they are continuously pursuing the attachment they are having for the profession fraternity. I sincerely congratulate Mahaveer Singhvi for helping institute a lot in different directions, particularly international front level. We are having 28 chapters. He's giving a lot of inputs and thought process. And I'm very happy Tarunji has identified and asked him to come to here and to share particularly the initiatives of the government to bolster growth, particularly Make in India, Startup India and Mudra banking system, whatever is there, our Prime Minister Modi has thought. And he is the right person to present and visualize us. It is a win-win situation for a member to grab the opportunity, at the same time to educate our clients.
In the same manner, may I request Honorable President to kindly recognize the contribution by C.A. Mahaveer Singhvi ji by formally presenting a memento to him.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. An opportunity to present a memento as a president. Thank you. Sir,
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We'll join you, sir. India, etc. Before Mahaveer ji speaks, I will just mention in few words about him so that the learned audience can know the faculty and the background as well as his rich experience. C.A. Mahaveer Singhvi is Indian Forest Service qualified chartered accountant. He is a career diplomat by profession, who was appointed to the Elite Indian Foreign Service, that is the diplomatic service of India, in the year 1999. Since then, he has served in several important assignments in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, including as Director at SAARC, BIMSTEC and Border Connectivity, as the Director also of East and Southern Africa, Director Latin America and Caribbean, Deputy Secretary, Multilateral Economic Relations, Deputy Secretary, Technical Cooperation, etc. Mr. Singhvi has also effectively represented India on several international forums during his various assignments in the diplomatic service and attended a number of international seminars, conferences and professional development programs on diverse subjects including on national security and India's nuclear strategy, etc. Mr. Singhvi is one of the most qualified civil servants serving for the Government of India at present. He has been educated and trained at some of the top educational and professional institutions in the world, including the University of Oxford, UK, Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, ICI, etc. He possesses several post-graduation professional qualifications including LLB, CA, CS, ICWA, MBA, MBA and Master in Oxford, Master at Export, apart from graduation in Commerce with honors. Sri Singhvi has been bestowed with several laurels, awards and accolades. He was awarded British Chevening Fellowship to pursue a year-long Foreign Service Program, that is FSP, at the University of Oxford, UK, and was awarded an overall distinction in the program, which was described by the University of Oxford as the rare and laudable achievement. He was awarded the University Gold Medal by the University of Jodhpur for securing the topmost rank in the graduate degree examination, that is BCom with honors. He was also awarded the Rajasthan Board Gold Medal for securing first rank in the 12th grade examination. So friends, you will appreciate that starting from 12 till today, he is getting the similar kinds of awards for excellence in whatever he has been doing. Mr. Singhvi has also been honored twice by the Governor of Rajasthan for his academic excellence. Several other organizations have bestowed honors and awards upon Sri Singhvi from time to time. Mr. Singhvi has contributed to the ICI's activities in various ways. He has rendered his services as examiner for the ICI's examinations, besides being a speaker on websites organized by ICI for the guidance of members and students. He has participated in the meetings of ICI's committee members in public services. Mr. Singhvi has also helped hundreds of aspirants to enter into the higher echelons of public services of India by providing them study and interview guidance for the prestigious civil services examinations conducted by the UPSC. He can be reached at singhvim@gmail.com. Friends, we are really privileged and honored to have such a very versatile and expert faculty with us to guide on very important initiative of the Government of India and ICI joining the same as the partner in nation building. May I therefore request you, sir, to kindly address the participants. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gia, for the very nice introduction indeed. In fact, I am honored and flattered. Well, before I speak on the topic, I would like to mention that the views expressed herein are my own views, and they don't necessarily reflect the views of the Government of India. The topic which I've been asked to speak on today is very, very important, contemporary and relevant for all of us. That is the key initiatives of the Government of India to bolster the economic growth. That is Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra. Apart from these topics also, these initiatives also, there are many other initiatives like Skill India and so on, which are very important for our economic growth in today's environment. All of these topics which I've been asked to speak upon is, in fact, they on their own are huge topics, and one can go on and speaking on that. But since we have shortage of time, I would like to give a brief introduction of all of them, and then my colleague C.A. Rupin Patel would brief you on the opportunities available to chartered accountants emanating out of these initiatives. Now let me begin with Make in India initiative of the Government of India. All of you are, I'm sure, must be familiar about this and must have heard about this. This happened when this government came in power. Our economy was really in a bad shape. Our economy was going through one of the very fragile period in 2014 when this present government led by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi came into power. The much hyped emerging market bubble had burst, and India's the growth rate of India had fallen to a very significantly to a lowest level in one of the last one decade. The promise of BRICS nation which was there had actually faded, and India was tagged as one of the so-called fragile five. Global investors debated whether India was a risk or an opportunity. India was on the brink of severe economic failure, and there was a huge gap between the job seekers and the jobs available in the market. Make in India was a timely response to this critical situation. Honorable Prime Minister first mentioned this phrase, Make in India, when he was addressing his first Independence Day speech from the ramparts of the Red Fort. Make in India if you define it, it is one of the flagship program of the government to boost the domestic manufacturing industry and attract foreign investors to invest in India and the Indian economy. The campaign was formally launched in September 2014 with a ceremony in Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. Make in India is, I would say, is not a slogan only. It is much more than that. It represents a comprehensive and unprecedented overhaul of outdated processes and policies. It represents a complete change in the mindset of the government, a shift from issuing authority to becoming business facilitator in keeping with the Prime Minister's mantra of minimum government, maximum governance. Make in India campaign, in fact, is devised to transform India into a global design and manufacturing hub and make India a very easy and a very simple place to do the business. As you might be aware, manufacturing currently constitutes about 15% of the national GDP, which is quite insufficient if we compare it to some other developing countries of Asia. The aim of this campaign, that is Make in India, is to grow this contribution of manufacturing to 25% of GDP by 2020. In the process, the government expects to generate jobs, attract much foreign direct investment, and transform India into a manufacturing hub which is preferred around the globe for investment. Make in India program includes many major new initiatives designed to facilitate investment, foster innovation, protect intellectual property rights, and build best-in-class manufacturing infrastructure. The Make in India program, when it started, it was a real difficult situation. And there was a lot of efforts put in by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion to put together what should be included in this campaign. There was participation from union ministers, secretaries, to Government of India, business leaders, state government, and various other knowledge partners. There, a national workshop on sector-specific industries were held. Here, secretaries and industry leaders debated and formulated an action plan for the next 3 years aimed at raising the contribution of the manufacturing sector to 25% of GDP by 2020. The DIBP also worked with a group of highly specialized agencies to build a dedicated help desk and a mobile-first website, which packed a wide array of information into a simple website. 25 sector brochures were created. These brochures included key facts and figures, policies and initiatives, and sector-specific contact details, all of which are available in print and on the website of Make in India, which all of you can access. These 25 sectors were those where likelihood of FDI was the highest, and investment is encouraged and promoted by the Government of India. These sectors range from automobiles to road and highways, from aviation to defense, and from construction to railways. The entire list of these various sectors in which this campaign is focused is available on the website, that is Make in India, and I would request you to access those and see what is on offer in all these sectors. Under Make in India initiative of FDI norms, one of the major I would say component of Make in India campaign was that to relax the FDI norms in these sectors. In almost all of these sectors, except a few, almost 100% FDI was allowed. Recently, a few days back, all of you must have heard, the government announced radical changes in the FDI regime with that objective of providing major impetus to employment and job creation in the country. Government has now allowed up to 100% foreign direct investment in defense through the approval route, 100% FDI in food product e-commerce, 100% FDI in greenfield pharma via automatic route, 100% in brownfield pharma, of which 74% will be through automatic route, 100% FDI in scheduled airlines through approval route, and up to 49% FDI in airlines through automatic route. Up to 100% FDI through automatic route had also been permitted in setting up uplinking, HUBs, teleports, mobile, DTH and cable networks operating at national, district, state as well as local level. 100% FDI has also been permitted and allowed under automatic route in construction, operation and maintenance in a specified rail infrastructure project. While FDI in defense beyond 40% was already allowed through approval route and up to 49% through automatic route, the new norms have done away with the condition of access to state-of-art technology in the country for FDI more than 49%. Earlier there was this mandatory condition, but the reforms which have been recently initiated has done away with that. The government has also decided to relax local sourcing norms up to 3 years and relax sourcing regime for another 5 years for entities undertaking single brand retail, trading of products having a state-of-art and cutting-edge technology, which will likely make it easier for those companies like Apple to set up manufacturing units in India. Now most of these sectors would be under automatic rule except a small negative list. With these changes, I am sure India is now one of the most open economy in the world. That's what our Prime Minister also said. India today has been rated as #1 FDI investment destinations by several international agencies. In fact, last year, India received higher FDI than China, which was around $62 billion in the year. One of the major aspects of Make in India campaign was ease of doing business, to enhance the ease of doing business, to facilitate the business being done without hindrances, without licenses, without any kind of restrictions. Several measures have been taken by both the central government as well as state government to enhance the ease of doing business in India under this program. Some of the central government initiatives which have been completed and which I am going to tell you now include creation of a unified portal which is called Shram Suvidha for registration of labor identification number, submission of returns, grievance redressal, combined returns under 8 labor laws. You just have to go to these portal and register yourself, and that's it. Another important measure which have been taken is creation of an online portal for employees state insurance corporation and employees provident fund organization for real-time registration and payment through 56 accredited banks. There is now an online application process also for environment and forest clearances. E-Bidge, you must have heard about it and must have also accessed it, is a single window online portal that has been established where 14 government services are now delivered online, including applying for industrial licenses and industrial entrepreneur memorandum. Apart from these, an investor facilitation cell has also been established. A dedicated Japan Plus cell has also been established in DIPP. Now, consent to establish or a no objection certificate is no longer required for new electricity connections. Export and import documents have been reduced from 7 to 3. Option to obtain company name and DIN, Director Identification Number, is now available at the time of incorporation. Forms have been simplified for industrial licenses and industrial entrepreneur memorandums. Many defense sector dual-use products no longer require any license. Validity of security clearances from Ministry of Home Affairs have been extended up to 3 years. There is also an extended validity for implementing industrial license for 3 years. There is also now no distinction between partial and full commencement of production for all products. besides color-coded maps for locations requiring NOC from Airport Authority of India have been hosted online on this website. Requirement of minimum paid-up capital and common seals have been done away with the amendment in the Companies Act in 2015. Integrated process of obtaining PAN, TAN, ESIC and EPFO registration with incorporation of company have been put in place. A single window clearance for import and exports have been introduced to Indian Custom single window project. I'm sure, and my friend Rupin must agree with that all these measures have significantly eased the way the business is being done now, and all those entrepreneurs who like to open a new venture and manufacturing unit would have easy access to everything now, and they don't have to face the hassles which they used to face earlier. Along with the central government, various state governments have also taken several initiatives to facilitate ease of doing business in India. I would just mention few of them. Gujarat have introduced online consent system for pollution control board and a GIS based land identification system. Chhattisgarh has introduced online consent system for environmental clearances and an extended validity of consent under environmental provisions. Maharashtra have introduced a unified process with single ID for VAT and professional tax registration. Number of procedures and time for getting an electricity connection have been reduced. There are also commercial benches established in Mumbai High Court. Similarly, Delhi has also established commercial benches to fast-pace the disposal of the disputes, commercial disputes. In Delhi, there is now a real-time allotment of TIN number, that's taxpayer identification number, and online application portal for residential and industrial building permits. Punjab has created an Invest Punjab as one-stop clearances for investment project. Also, 131 industries have been exempted from consent requirement by Pollution Control Board in Punjab. In Uttarakhand, static check post replaced by mobile squad. In Pondicherry, green industries were exempted from inspection by Pollution Control Board. In Karnataka, a checklist for 86 government services and delivery timeline across 23 departments, organizations have been made available on Karnataka Udyog Mitra, an online portal. There are several other actions on the part of the state government which are there in the pipeline, and I am sure that they will soon be completed, which would further ease the doing of business in India. With these measures, if you recall, our ranking has improved in the ease of doing business from 142 last year to 130th rank this year, and I am sure that it would further go up this year. The target of the government is to make it within the top 50 countries in the ease of doing business by 2017, and I am sure that we would be able to achieve that. Another very important aspect of Make in India campaign is creation of new infrastructure. There is an impetus on developing industrial corridors and smart cities. 5 industrial corridor projects have been identified, planned and launched by Government of India in the Union Budget of 2014 and 15 to provide an impetus to industrialization and planned urbanization. In each of these corridors, manufacturing will be the key economic driver, and these projects are seen as critical in raising the share of manufacturing in India's GDP from the current level of 15% to 25% by 2022. A new Industrial Corridor Development Authority has been created to coordinate, integrate, monitor and supervise the development of all industrial corridors. Work is in progress for Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, which I'm sure all of you must be aware. For Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridors, master planning for 3 new industrial nodes, that is Poneri in Tamil Nadu, Krishnapatnam in AP and Tumkur in Karnataka, is in progress. ADB has commissioned a feasibility study for Chennai-Vizag Industrial Corridor as the first phase of East Coast Economic Corridor project. For Amritsar-Kolkata Industrial Corridor, DMI CDC has been selected as nodal agency for doing feasibility study, which is being conducted at fast pace. Northeastern part of India is planned to be linked with other industrial corridors in cooperation with Government of Japan. Government of Japan has ensured that they will provide funding for all these initiatives. There is also a plan to build 100 smart cities, which is very important aspect of the Make in India campaign. You must have seen 20 smart cities has already been announced. Work on 5 smart cities in progress as a part of DMIC corridor. These include Dholera, Sandra, Bitkin, Greater Noida, Ujjain and Gurgaon. These cities are being developed to integrate the new workforce that will power the manufacturing along with industrial corridors and to decongest India's urban housing scenario in the coming years. Approvals have also been accorded to 21 industrial projects under modified industrial infrastructure upgradation schemes with an emphasis on use of recycled water through zero liquid discharging systems and central effluent treatment plants. Approval have also been accorded to 17 national investment and manufacturing zones. Make in India program also envisages nurturing of innovations. Approvals have been granted for strengthening intellectual property regime in the country through creation of almost 1,000 posts. Further upgradation of IT facilities have been created. Compliance with global standards have been made a requisite. IPR application process have been made online. An act recognizing NID, that's the National Institute of Design Ahmedabad, as an institute of national importance has been notified. This will enable NID to confer degrees, promote research and function as an apex body in design education. 4 more NIDs are being developed. Under Make in India program, a major impetus has also been given to skill development. An entire new ministry has been created for this purpose to undertake drives for skill development of the youths and to create skilled manpower for the upcoming industries which would emanate out of this initiative. There has been, let us now look at what has been the response to Make in India initiative. As you all know, our FDI has increased to a significant level during the last year from $45 billion to almost $62 billion, and it is further likely to go up this year. In 2015, India was ranked as first among 110 countries as compared to 6th in 2014 in the baseline profitability index. India is up by 16 places to reach at 55th rank on the global competitive index 2015. India also climbed up by 6 places to reach at 9th position from 15th in 2015 to join the League of World's top 10 countries by FDI inflow. Various multinational companies have also benefited from this initiative, and they have also promised that they will set up their shops in India, factories in India and manufacturing facilities in India. Out of these I would mention a few just to give an idea of what we are actually getting out of this initiative. Spice Group has said that it would start a kind of a mobile phone manufacturing facility in Uttar Pradesh with an investment of 5 billion rupees, that's $74 million. A memorandum of understanding has already been signed between the Spice Group and the government of Uttar Pradesh. Samsung has also discussed a joint initiative under which 10 MSME Samsung technical schools will be established in India. Samsung has also said that they will manufacture Samsung Z1 in its plant in Noida. Hitachi, which is another company which has been quite interested in this Make in India campaign, had said that they will establish an auto component plant in Chennai in 2016, and they will also increase their employee strength from 10,000 to 13,000 in India. Huawei opened a new research facilities. It's in its R&D campus in Bengaluru. It had also invested about $170 million to establish a research and development center. It is also in the process of setting up a telecom hardware manufacturing plant in Chennai. Xiaomi has also begun manufacturing a smartphone at its Foxconn facility in Sri City. LH Aviation, a France-based company, has signed an MOU with OIS Advanced Technologies to set up a manufacturing plant in India to manufacture drones. Foxconn has announced that it would invest about 5 billion over 5 years to set up a research and development and high-tech semiconductor manufacturing facilities in Maharashtra. Thus, we can see that a lot of companies have shown their interest to manufacture their products in India, and that is the real success of Make in India program. In fact, our Prime Minister, when he visited Russia in last December 2015, Kamakov multi-role helicopters, which is being built by a Russian company, they said that it would be built in India. This is one of the first defense deal to be actually signed under Make in India campaign. Recently, in 2016 February, Lockheed Martin stated that it was ready to manufacture F-16 fighter in India and support the Make in India initiative. Although the time frame has not been specified, but I am sure that it will soon come up here. To further give impetus to this Make in India program, a Make in India week was also organized in Mumbai, which was held at Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai on 13th of February 2016. This week was attended by 2,500 international and 8,000 domestic foreign government delegations from 68 countries and business teams from 72 countries. 17 Indian states also held their expos in this Make in India week. The investment worth 15.2 lakh crores of rupees were committed and investment inquiries of 1.5 lakh crores, US dollar 22 billion, were received. In fact, the state of Maharashtra led all other states by receiving almost 8 lakh rupees crores of investment in the Make in India investment week. That's I think is brief about Make in India I would like to mention. Now let me move to Startup India, which is another flagship initiative of the Government of India to bolster economic growth, known as Startup. This was announced by Honorable Prime Minister in his Independence Day address in 2015, and the scheme was formally launched on January 16, 2016. You must have seen many startups like Flipkart, Mantra, Team Indus, OYO Rooms, Zoomcar, Floody. The list of startup in India which is coming up now is endless, and it's going on to become huge success stories. In fact, today India ranks at, I think about the rank is third globally with more than 4,200 startups. Bangalore, NCR and Mumbai are the top startup destinations, which has approximately 65% of total Indian startups. Other cities like Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, Jaipur and Ahmedabad are the major upcoming startup locations. A total of $5.9 billion were invested in the startups last year, as compared to $2.2 billion in 2014, which is a whopping 125% increase. Therefore, the startups are now generating a huge attention. The focus of Startup India initiative is building a strong and favorable ecosystem for nurturing innovations for growth of startups in the country that will drive sustainable economic growth and generate large-scale employment opportunities. Who can be a startup under the startup scheme? Under the startup scheme, only a private limited company, registered partnership firm and a limited liability partnership can be recognized as a startup. Kindly note that a public limited company cannot be a startup. And it would be considered as a startup only up to 5 years from the date of its incorporation, registration, and its turnover in any financial year should not exceed 25 crore rupees. If it exceeds, then it ceases to be a startup. The startups would be working towards innovation, development, deployment or commercialization of new products or processes or services driven by technology or intellectual property. That is the basics if you are to be classified as startup. An existing entity can also apply for a startup if it fulfills these conditions. The application for a startup, for registering as a startup, is to be made online on a website which is www.startupindia.gov.in. The process of registration of startup is through a mobile app or a startup portal of the DIPP. Startups will be required to submit a simple application form with the prescribed documents. On uploading the application with relevant documents, a real-time recognition number is issued to the startup. There are few necessary things before you register or you are considered as a startup. Your application has to be accompanied by a recommendation with regard to innovative nature of the business from any incubator established by a postgraduate college in India or recognized by Government of India, or a letter of support by any incubator which is funded from Government of India or any state government has to be there along with your application. A letter of funding of not less than 20% in equity by any incubation fund, angel fund, private equity fund which are duly registered with Securities and Exchange Board of India that endorses innovative nature of business would also be sufficient. And a letter of funding by Government of India or any state government as part of any specified scheme to promote innovation. If there, then also you can register yourself as a startup. All these list of various incubators and facilitators you can find on the startup website. Now, the Prime Minister recently announced an action plan to promote startups and to facilitate the startup ecosystem. With these action plan, with these aspects of the action plan, the government hopes to accelerate spreading of the startup movement from digital technology sector to a wide array of sectors including agriculture, manufacturing, social sectors, healthcare, education, etc. As you see right now, most of the startups are either in the field of digital technology or e-commerce. So the government now actually is trying to make a shift, in fact not a shift I would say, but trying to facilitate startups coming in other sectors also. And these startups also should come up in tier 2 cities or 3 cities. That is also one of the objective of the recent government initiatives. The action plan which was announced by the government consists of simplification and hand-holding of startups, funding support and providing incentives, and also industry academia partnership and incubation of startups. Some of the salient points which are there in the action plan and which I would like to mention here includes the following. One is self-certification. The startup will adopt a self-certification to reduce the regulatory liability. The self-certification will also apply to laws including payment of gratuity, labor contract, providing fund management, water and air pollution act. There is also a provision of establishing an Startup India hub, which would be a single contact point which will help the entrepreneurs to exchange knowledge and access financial aid. There is also a provision of patent protection. A fast-track system for patent examination at lower cost has been conceptualized for startups. In order to obtain tax and IPR related benefits, a startup shall be required to be certified as an eligible business from the Interministerial Board of Certification. That is the necessary condition. To further give impetus to a startup, the government will develop a fund with an initial corpus of 2,500 crores and a total corpus of 10,000 crores over 4 years to support upcoming startup enterprise would be put in place. Also, a National Credit Guarantee Trust Company has been conceptualized with a budget of 500 crores per year for the next 4 years to support the flow of funds to the startups. Generally, commercial banks find it difficult to lend to startups, and therefore this trust company, National Credit Guarantee Trust Company, has been created to support startups to get funding. There will also be no capital gain tax on the startups for their initial funding. Startups would also pay no income tax for 3 years. In case of investment of higher value than the market price, then also there will be an exemption from paying taxes. So there are various tax incentives which have been provided for facilitating startups. Now, to build entrepreneurs, there is also a provision of annual incubator grant challenge, so that world-class incubators and startups come up. There is also Atal Innovation Mission, which has been launched to boost innovation and encourage talented youths. There is a provision of setting up of new incubators and 31 innovation centers at the national institutes. Another important point in the action plan is setting up of research park. 7 new research park, including 6 in Indian Institute of Technology campus and 1 in the Indian Institute of Science campus, with an investment of rupees 100 crore each would be set up. The government would also introduce innovation related program for students in over about 5 lakh schools in India. There is also a provision of legal support. A panel of facilitators will provide legal support to startup and assistance in submitting patent applications and other online documents and official documents. The other points which are there in the action plan includes a rebate of 80% of total value, which would be provided to entrepreneurs on filing patent applications. To facilitate startups, the norms for public procurement has also been simplified and eased out. If a startup fails, then also there is a provision of faster exit for the startup. First, the government would try to support them and to revive them, but if that fails, then they would also be, given an easy way out. So there are a slew of measures which have been taken up to facilitate a startup and create a culture of innovation in the country, and in turn create jobs for the lakhs of millions of youth coming up to job market every year. Having discussed these 2 important initiatives, I would now like to turn up to another very important initiative of the government, that is Stand Up India scheme. This scheme was mentioned by Honorable Prime Minister during his Independence Day address last year, and the scheme was formally launched by the Honorable Prime Minister on the 125th birth anniversary of Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar this year. The objectives of the Stand Up India scheme is to promote entrepreneurship among the SC, STs and women. This is a very important point. So the objective is to reach up to the level where so far no banks and other financial institutions have reached, to promote kind of entrepreneurs which would be available in these communities. Another objective is to provide hand-holding support to potential entrepreneurs among SC, ST and women's. and to support these hitherto unserved communities in the country's economic development and thereby ensure an inclusive development for all of them. Under this scheme, bank loans between 10 lakh to 1 crores shall be provided to at least one scheduled caste or scheduled tribe borrower and at least one women entrepreneurs per bank branch for setting up a greenfield enterprise, that is a new enterprise. This enterprise may be in manufacturing, services or the trading sector. In case of non-individual enterprises, at least 51% of the shareholding and controlling stake should be held by either an SC/ST or women entrepreneur. Under Stand Up India scheme, the loans are in the nature of composite loans, that is inclusive of term loan as well as the working capital. And the loans, as I mentioned, is between rupees 10 lakhs to rupees 1 crore. And that should represent up to 75% of the project cost. There is also a provision of one of the lowest rate of interest which would be charged to the kind of loan which would be given in this scheme. The loan, the rate of interest shall not exceed the base rate plus 3% in any case. The loans under Stand Up India scheme would be secured through mortgage, hypothecation of primary assets which would be acquired out of the loan amount. In addition, the loan can also be secured by a collateral security or guarantee of the credit guarantee scheme of the credit guarantee scheme for Stand Up India loans, which would be decided by the bank. All branches of scheduled commercial banks are eligible lending institution for extending loans under this Stand Up scheme. The repayment period of the composite loans in this scheme will not exceed 7 years with a maximum moratorium period of 18 months. The mechanism for availing these loans is available there on the website. If you are a potential borrower, then you have to go to that portal and register yourself. On registration, the borrower is required to answer a few questions. Based on the kind of response he gives, he would be classified as a trainee borrower or a ready borrower. Trainee borrower may choose to seek suitable handholding support and accordingly coordinate with the help centers. Borrower may also approach directly for the loans to bank branches or through SIDBI's Stand Up India portal or through lead district managers. Facility for upholding documents like KYC documents, etc. is also available through the portal, which would help bank in the appraisal system. Borrowers also has the option of choosing the bank. He can give up to 3 options with from where he would like to borrow. Loans shall also be sanctioned only if it conforms to the bank norms and subject to necessary due diligence, like pre-sanctions and post-sanction visit, end use verification, etc. So, for SC/ST and women, there is a provision in this scheme to provide loans so that they can also come up and be a partner in the economic development of the country. Lastly, I would like to talk about another initiative of the government, which is Mudra, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, you can call them. This initiative is actually launched by the Prime Minister in 2015, but a Mudra Bank was provided recently in 2016 budget. This is a scheme to provide loans to small and micro enterprises. Under this scheme, a Mudra Bank was envisaged earlier, as I said, but since it requires an enactment of the Parliament, till that comes up, a non-banking finance company known as Mudra Limited has been set up by SIDBI as a subsidiary, and that was announced by the Finance Minister in 2016 budget. There is if you look at that, there is a big bottleneck in the growth of entrepreneurship in non-corporate small business sector. More than 90% of this sector does not have access to formal source of finance. This Mudra scheme actually addresses that. Under Mudra, the company which has been created as a subsidiary of SIDBI, that would be responsible for refinancing all last mile financiers such as non-banking finance companies, societies, trust, Section 8 companies, cooperative societies, small banks, scheduled commercial banks and RRBs, regional rural banks, which are in the business of lending to micro and small business entities engaged in manufacturing, trading and service activities. Mudra will also partner with state and regional level financial intermediaries to provide finance to last mile financiers of small and micro business enterprises. Now, how the Mudra would function? Under the aegis of Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, Mudra envisages providing finance to micro units through interventions known as Shisu, Kishore and Tarun, which signifies actually the stage of growth, development and funding need of the beneficiary, maybe micro unit or an entrepreneur, and also this would provide a reference point for the next phase of growth to look forward to. Under the Shisu scheme, loans up to 50,000 would be provided to the enterprise or whatever a person wants to do. Under Kishore scheme, this loan is available up to 5 lakh, and under Tarun scheme, the loan amount would be up to 10 lakh, from 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees. Mudra delivery channel is conceived through the route of refinance, primarily refinancing banks and NBFCs and MFIs, as I said earlier. Mudra is actually intended to provide loans to millions of proprietorships, partnership firms running as small manufacturing units, service sector units, even shopkeepers, fruit vegetable vendors, truck operators, food service units, repair shop, machine operators, small industries, artisan, food processors, whether in urban areas or rural areas, they are all eligible to apply for loan under this scheme. Under this scheme, generally the collaterals would not be insisted upon. That's the mandate given by the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Lending rates under this scheme would be as per the usual terms and conditions of the lending agency, and RBI guidelines issued in this regard from time to time. There is also a provision of a Mudra card, which is actually a RuPay debit card, and it can be used for drawing cash from ATMs or for making purchases using point of sale machines. Facility is also there to repay the amount as and when surplus cash is available, thereby reducing the interest cost. For making applications to avail Mudra loans, there is a standard application form which is available on the website. In case of Shisu category, there is one page form which is a very simple form. In case of other Kishore and Tarun category, there is a 3-page form which one has to fill up and submit it online, or maybe they can also approach any of these intermediaries. As far as the repayment terms of the Mudra loans are concerned, they will be governed by cash flows of the enterprise, and the eligibility of the borrowers will be decided by the lending institutions. How the repayment would be done, it all depends on the lending institutions. All loans which have been sanctioned by commercial banks and other lending institutions to all these micro units after April 8, 2015 would be covered under this Prime Minister's Mudra Yojana. There is also no provision of filing an IT IT return. That would not be insisted upon. If you don't have, that is not a kind of a lacuna which you will have to face while applying for loans. You can get loans even without that. The processing time for approval of the turnaround time or the processing time for the loan proposal has been fixed, or ideally provided is 7 to 10 days, and it is expected that the loan under this Mudra Yojana would be facilitated within that time. So that's all which I would like to say right now in terms of all these key initiatives by Government of India, which I've been asked to speak upon today. Now I would like to hand over the mic to my friend CA Rupin Patel to actually enlighten you on what are the professional opportunities available out of these various initiatives of the Government of India.
Thank you, Mahaveer ji. Thank you very much. Friends, he has deliberated very nicely on recent key initiative of Government of India on Startup India, Stand Up India, and Make in India and Mudra Bank. And he has threadbare deliberated all the important aspects and how you can take benefit of the scheme of the government. And we thank him for this time and the threadbare presentation he has made and enlightened our viewers. So thank you, Mahaveer ji. And friends, now we are starting with another speaker, CA Rupin Patel. What are the professional opportunity from these schemes? How our members, chartered accountant, can be benefited from all these Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India and Mudra Bank, and what are the key aspects you can derive from this presentation. So Mr. Rupin Patel, he is our member from our institute and he has a long experience in this field. He is an advisory service, financial engineering, internal audit, assurance management audit, and he is also the past chairman of Anand branch of WIRC, and he is a regular faculty, and he is also a member of a state task force for government sector Gujarat for the year 13-14 by Committee of Government Accounting of ICI, and currently a special invitee on Committee on Accounting Standard Board for local bodies. He is also independent director in listed company based in Ahmedabad. So we welcome Mr. Rupin Patel in front of you, enlighten on what the professional opportunity members can derive from all this new scheme of the government. Rupin, over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. These are some of the questions that have come. Thank you very much. I believe time for me to actually speak on professional opportunities have shrunk, but believe me, the actual professional opportunities have not shrunk for you. So I'll manage as much as I can before the allotted time. Before I begin my talk on opportunities for CAs, I would like to place on record my gratitude for Mahaveer Singhvi ji for sparing his time from his very busy schedule and addressing our fraternity, all of those who have been logged into our webcast today. It should be obvious by now that the government is doing all it can do to power our economy so that India can again lay claim to its rightful place in the world economic stage. Key initiatives, some of which have been mentioned by Singhvi ji, are indicative of the intentions of the government to do so. I would stick my neck out and say that we are sitting at the cusp of a major revolution, a kind of a revolution that India always wanted to see, but this is the time, this is the opportune moment where the government is stepping up to the aspirations of the people. You must have heard about the Brexit today. In fact, after Brexit and a very comatose China economy, Mahaveer ji, I would believe India is probably seen as the only ray of hope now. It is for us, the members of the fraternity, to decide whether and to what extent do we want to benefit from the coming revolution. I'm afraid for members there are only two choices. One, we can watch as the India story unfolds and maybe become fringe beneficiaries of it, or we can involve ourselves very proactively to the initiatives which Singhvi ji talked about and become principal beneficiaries of those. Before I actually delve into the subject proper, I would begin with a small example. All of you must have heard of Silicon Valley. Well, Silicon Valley, I think it's interesting to know how the whole Silicon Valley started. In 1940s, Stanford University had a very specific mission of making America self-sufficient with indigenous, innovative local industry. This was their stated objective. And a very dynamic dean in the 1940s named Frederick Terman, he first initiated a collaboration between the students and industry, and he in fact encouraged all his faculties and students to set up their own businesses. And the third thing was that the government at that time, which has always been a feature of the United States, had a very non-interventionist approach to all this. The seeds that were sown in the 1940s in the Silicon Valley, do note that it is just a 600-kilometer area in San Jose, right? But it has today, per capita income wise, probably it is the third largest economy, and California, where the Silicon Valley is situated, probably on a standalone basis is the 8th or 9th largest economy. The point, if you read closely to what Mahaveer ji just said, the three things that Stanford did right in the 1940s, India is doing now. Namely, it is creating a framework for non-interventionist government, right? As Mahaveer ji said, maximum governance, minimum government, encouraging entrepreneurship and aggressively skilling India. This will give rise to huge and unexpected levels of opportunities in years to come. It's also very important to juxtapose the intention of Silicon Valley with the stated objectives in the action plan for startup. I think they match very closely. The three objectives out of the many in the action plan, it is mentioned that the three objectives are simplification and handholding, second funding support, and very active industry academia partnership and incubation support. Incidentally, just a few days back, government announced a 10,000 crore funds for startup. This is just a starting point. I believe that over a period of time, this would have a domino effect, and many self-sustaining incubation centers would also come up. For skeptics, I would like to divert a bit before I again delve into the subject proper. See, if you ever visit any of the Indus Valley civilization sites, one of them is Lothal in central Gujarat, you would notice very strangely among the excavation there lies an artifact with a gorilla drawn on it. It is very strange because historically gorillas were never part of this subcontinent, which probably gave rise to the postulation that India used to trade with Africa 5,000 years back, and Africa is approximately 5,000 miles away. Of course, there is no evidence of 15 CACB to substantiate that, but still. So what I'm trying to say is that entrepreneurship is deeply embedded in our soul in India. It is only now with the support of the government that we are set to realize its true potential. We have always been an entrepreneurial society, it's part of our DNA, and now with the right climate and the stimuli, it's the time to grow. Okay, so the case for entrepreneurship has been made. I would now talk exclusively about the opportunities for CAs that emanate due to the policies of the government. Again, I cannot, given the limited time, speak about all the opportunities, but very specific opportunities that are emanating out of the initiatives of the government. I'd be dividing my talk into broadly three parts. First, I would talk about the emerging macroeconomic benefits of the reforms that Singhvi ji talked about. Then I would delve a little bit into how these could potentially help you in your service or in client delivery or service delivery. It may be in your job also. And lastly, I would talk about new and very specific emerging areas out of these initiatives. So let's look at the macro first. As Singhvi ji mentioned earlier, we are witnessing a major buzz under Make in India, which would have a substantial impact on the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing contribution to GDP was flatlined for quite some time at 15%, and now the objective is to take it up to 25%. Not only that, Government of India expects India to rank among the top 3 manufacturing destinations by 2020, and probably will be the 3rd largest country by GDP by 2030. With the new initiatives in FDI, now the government proclaims that we are the most open economy for FDI. Most of the liberalization has been in the manufacturing and processing sector, if you notice, which could also, as a lot of technology innovations and a lot of joint ventures would come in because of that. There are big ticket announcements like 100% FDI in broadcasting, defense, pharma, brownfield projects, etc. But there are also small sectors which are relevant to all of you. These are the sectors which would probably have far wider impact in terms of geography and may create incidentally a lot of opportunities for your clients or potential clients. One of them is opening up of animal husbandry, including dog breeding, fish farming, apiculture, that is rearing of bees for honey. Now 100% FDI is allowed without control conditions. There is 100% FDI in trading, including e-commerce in respect of food, processed food from India. And as Singhvi ji mentioned, there is a local sourcing norms for single brand retailing have been relaxed, which will open a lot of retail opportunities in India also. Besides that, we are seeing a lot of activity in the NIMS, that is the National Investment Manufacturing Zones, which are basically wide geographical area replicating the SEZs in China, which have been instrumental in China's growth as an economic powerhouse in the last 3 to 4 decades. Towards this goal, the government intends to have sector-specific clusters such as mega food parks, country-specific zones such as Japanese Nimrana zone. The DMIC itself is a 100 billion project covering approximately 1,500 kilometers of dedicated freight corridor. Other 4 corridors are also planned. One is the Bangalore-Mumbai economic corridor, Amritsar-Kolkata economic corridor, Chennai-Bangalore industrial corridor, and East Coast industrial corridor. The point I'm trying to make is that there will be one industrial corridor to where you are right now. It is basically going to cover the length and breadth of the country, right? Just DMIC would give rise to 8 cities in phase 1 and approximately 24 investment regions. So expect a lot of industrial manufacturing buzz happening around you. This would of course provide professionals an excellent opportunity to expand your own footprint, but also advisory opportunities to help you evaluate the value in relocating to such industrial zones for your clients. With some basic homework, professional members can have a business case ready for their clients and also be the first advisors to the opportunities as soon as they become a reality. Among other things, I think there is a huge potential to pool the incentives under the scheme and make a business viability case right now. I'm sure most of you are aware of some of the schemes, but I'll just summarize a few of them, not all of them. There's sector-specific capital subsidies of 25% for 10 years, which is an area-based incentive for units which are located in J&K, HP, Uttarakhand and Northeast. Investment allowance, as you know, has been allowed up to 15%. 30% additional wages is an incentive which has been also passed by the budget. There's the R&D incentive of 200% and a reimbursement of 50% for stipend under Shram Suvidha scheme, which Singhvi ji also mentioned. There will be state-specific rebates, which I won't be able to tell you because each state will have their own schemes. Most of them to do with this rebated lands and the stamp duty on lands. You can check on them. A very interesting rebate subsidy is also 15 lakh subsidy, up to 15 lakhs of 50% incentive on patents and IPR acquisitions is also being launched. See, the point I'm trying to make is that all these initiatives on the macro sector are going to benefit members. and it always pays to remain ahead of the curve on these policies. I think ambitiously most of these corridors would be fully operational by 2040. So, but in phases. So there is an opportunity starting now. On ease of doing business part, the biggest headache that was plaguing an entrepreneur was, so far there wasn't a central database or a central location to guide an entrepreneur to all the regulations that would affect his business starting up and running his business. I think Jio has done a brilliant job by having a centralized portal called eBiz portal, which is a unique G2B initiative, that is a government to business initiative that pools all the regulations that are required to start up a business. This portal will not only help your clients, but will help you as a profession also to effectively guide an entrepreneur to expedite compliances and to ensure none of the regulations required to start or run a business are missed. I urge all members to master the use of this portal. It is of immense value. ebiz.gov.in is the name of the portal. It's a collaborative effort involving not just the central government but the central, state and the municipal level that is intended to dramatically reduce complexities in obtaining information and services related to starting a business. See, these are the things that will do. First, it will help you create a personalized list of licenses, clearances and registrations that are applicable to a particular type of business. It will allow you to eventually apply online for most of these regulations. You can make online payments also, and you can do online tracking of licenses, clearances and registrations. You will receive alerts via email and SMSs also. It also allows, I believe, an online interaction with various government departments, and there will be a response to queries. Additional submission of information is also allowed, and some of the copies of registrations and permissions can also be downloaded online. Right now, the functionalities that eBiz portal allows include: one is pan-India services like industrial license application, reporting for FCGPR, then reporting for advanced foreign remittances, issue of custom duty concession certificate, ESIC registrations, MCA DIN, PAN, EPFO, and changes and correction in PAN cards. It has also a composite application form for joint services such as TAN, PAN, EPIC and EPFO, and a unified labor registration under 5 labor laws such as ESIC and EPFO. See, I don't believe the municipalities and the states have fully collaborated, so in terms of its utility it is still a work in progress, but even today it gives you there is a great value to the profession if you are using it for yourself or for your clients. I was also going to the statistics of number of users, and this is what I found. I feel it is a very underutilized tool. Till the date I prepared this presentation, only 6,147 users have utilized the complete service from the portal, and there are just 29,000 active users. Now I'll talk about some specific opportunities. See, increased, I think Mahaveer ji just mentioned that there are 4,200 startups. That makes us the third largest startup country in the world. 4,000 startups means there are 4,200 startups means there are 4,200 opportunities for CA to provide service. Increased focus on startups would require much more intensive involvement of a chartered accountant is what I believe. The concept of virtual CFO is coming up. Startups, especially by those who are young, they would prefer to outsource their entire finance and regulatory headache to people like us. Great opportunity here. One, On one hand, there is a complete ease at which you can start or incubate your company or start a company. Second, you can, instead of providing very specific tax return kind of a service, you can become a virtual CFO to many organizations, right? They'll be consulting, information and handholding them, the startups, to the entire process, including advising them on the right structure, the right location, the subsidies, benefits, the tax concessions that are available. You can use eBiz portal here to monitor real time the progress of each of these starters. And that tool, combined with solid knowledge of macro factors such as SEZ, NIMZ, subsidies, guidelines, making a business plan, provide great opportunities for our fraternity. The new initiatives that Singhvi mentioned, such as Startup India and Stand Up India, in combination with easy finance schemes such as Mudra loans, are likely to bring a huge surge in small startups. Our members are at a natural advantage of providing comprehensive services, either as virtual CFOs to startups from their inception, no matter how small or bootstrapped they are. To be more specific, and this is just an illustrative list, these are the things that you can help, or these are the services that you can provide to a startup. It can start with preparing a business plan for them. You can advise on the structure of their organization. You can help them in company formation. You can help them in IPR registration. You can advise them on angel funding, private equity. You can lot of dynamic opportunities for valuations, which I'll talk about more specifically later, would come up. You can educate the client about various incentives that are available, which are sector or geography specific incentives. You can advise them on potential joint ventures, mergers, acquisitions, cross-border transactions. You may not wish to, but there will be a possibility that your services may be required for dispute resolutions, arbitrations also, and dissolutions and liquidation also. There is an opportunity now for small companies to be listed in the SME sector, or a regular stock exchange. There will be opportunities if the startup grows to a critical size that there will be a vertical horizontal expansion. Again, a business plan opportunity would arise. Takeover norms, and I think a lot of incubation centers are going to come around you. Universities, a lot of universities will have their own incubation centers. So you can involve themselves and do some voluntary work for universities, like guide the students who want to, groom the students who want to become entrepreneurs into how to make a one-pager, or how to prepare a business plan. What I envisage with these startups is just like we have seen with valuations of Flipkart and Snapdeal, to name just a few biggies. They would require a very dynamic mechanism for valuation, and to keep in step with the number of times the stake in such entities change hand in a short period of time, which means that your involvement in valuing a startup will not be a one-time affair as it used to be before. For startups, it will be a very dynamic, ongoing process. So your service will be continuously required. Mahaveer would be pleased to note that our institute has recently issued Corporate Affairs Standard 1, which is Business Valuation Practice Standards, in short known as Business Valuation Standards, to streamline the conceptual conflicts and to bring uniformity in practice for valuation. Among other things, these valuation standards seek to promote best practices and fairness in valuation standards, promote credibility, relevance, transparency and relevancy of valuation information, and to enhance quality, consistency, comparability and uniformity of valuation process. In the background of the standard, our institute mentions that increased participation of the public in the financial market and consequent increase in stakeholders' curiosity and interest in valuation has led them to come out with these standards. All this may have led to an exponential growth in demand for valuation services, and so the standards. Again, a great opportunity. Please go through these standards. Very specifically, if I talk about these standards, would aid our professional members for valuation of in cases of amalgamations, mergers, leveraged buyouts, IPOs, ESOPs or other share-based plans, shareholder buy-ins and buyouts, dispute resolutions, litigated matters, bankruptcy, contractual disputes, maybe help in bringing a resolution when there is a dissenting shareholders, and also in some cases IPR disputes. The list of applications of the standard is also endless. With startups springing across the nation, I think our institute has done a commendable job in creating this standard. And now let's talk about the IPR regime. Again, a great opportunity. We all know that this is a knowledge-driven decade. Companies, small and big, would not waste any time in creating intellectual property. And every company will have eventually an intellectual property strategy. This century would belong to entrepreneurs and entities which are driven by creativity and innovation, and that is exactly what the government is aiming with Startup India. To give you some perspective, in 2013, approximately 34.40 patents per million of population were filed by India. 34.40. The comparable figure for Korea was 4037, Japan was at 2509, US at 1806, and China was at 607, which means China per million filed 17 times more patents than India. So we have nowhere to go but up in IPRs. The problem of IPR was it used to take 5 years, 6 years to obtain one, and trademark used to take more than a year. That has been now streamlined with the new IPR regime. It has now been announced that the trademark registration would take only 1 month under the new IPR regime, and the copyright laws would come under direct control of the DIPP. The policy lays down very progressive 7 objectives. One is to create awareness about IPRs. Second is to stimulate the creation and growth of intellectual property through measures that encourage IP generations, which includes IP holding comprehensive IP audit, again an area where our members could go into, and to do baseline surveys and assess the strength development of specific programs to address inventors' need. Third objective is to have a balanced structure of legal framework to have very strong and effective laws with regards to IP rights that are consistent with national priorities and international obligations, and which balance the right of owners with public interest. Fourth, which I already talked about, was administration and management. The turnaround time, which earlier used to be 5 to 7 years, is likely to be reduced to 18 months. And for trademark, which was around 13 months, it is likely to be reduced to 1 month. Then the objective is also to augment commercialization of IP rights, valuation, licensing technology and transfer. We also know that there is a concessional rate of taxation on intellectual properties which was announced in the recent budget. Then strengthening of enforcement and education mechanism to build confidence of IPR, and human capital development. One news article which I was reading about IPR mentions that every business owner should be aware of his or her IP rights and should hire an IPR consultant. I think there lies our opportunity. Besides that, because of a very liberalized FDI regime, you will see a lot of cross-border transactions. A lot of opportunities are there. One is on the risk management side, and other is on the consulting and advisory side. I'll just name 4 or 5. One is mergers and acquisitions, FEMA compliances. There'll be FATCA compliance also. Risk management, valuation, again I'll have to repeat. Exit strategy, business plans, structuring of business. Many such opportunities would come up. Little opportunity, but again very relevant. Now we have a very progressive bankruptcy code. In the bankruptcy code, they have a term called a resolution professional. A resolution professional is somebody who is approved by 75% of the creditors, and he would be the person who would manage the debtors in interim period. Again, I see a lot of opportunities for our professional members to become resolution professionals, subject to approval of 75% of creditors of a company which is going bankrupt. Alternative energy. Well, major thrust in the solar sector. Government, center and state governments are both aggressive in pushing alternative energy and solar. Many state governments have a very progressive, forward-looking policy for rooftops, which includes net metering also. For commercial organizations, net metering combined with depreciation benefits has now brought down the payback period. I can talk of only few states to maybe 5 to 6 years now. There is a huge opportunity for making a business plan for solar for your clients. This will eventually open up and mature as the solar energy market matures. There will be opportunities for energy audit, valuations in carbon credits, as well as renewable energy certificates, which are known as RECs. Well, there are endless list of opportunities, but these are very specific ones which I wanted to talk about. See, we live in a very hyper-connected world today. Unlike earlier times when knowledge was an exclusive domain of selected few, now it is mostly free and available for all. You go to the eBiz portal and you will find all the information that you require to start your business. This did not exist even half a decade ago. What is not yet free is the magic key of how to use this information to the best of your professional advantage. Time permitting, I could go on and on about these opportunities, but let me end with another anecdote. In 1990s, there was a very famous management guru, Clayton Christensen, also an author, a scholar, a person who was credited with coining the term disruptive innovation, which you must have heard. He was called upon by Andy Grove, who was the then CEO of Intel. Intel at that time was facing stiff competition from upcoming processor manufacturers like AMD. And Andy Grove obviously wanted to know what could be done or what could Intel do to stave away the competition. So he called upon Clayton Christensen, who was a big name then. On meeting Andy Grove, Clayton started telling Andy Grove what Intel was doing wrong and what it should be doing. Andy Grove stopped him in mid-sentence and told him, "Okay, Clayton, anybody can tell me what to do and what not to do. That advice is available to me dime a dozen. I haven't called you to tell me that. Can you tell me how to do it?" I think Andy Grove mentioned something that was of immense value. I feel all of you who are watching this would agree that ours is perhaps the only profession that not only tells our clients what to do, but it is also equipped knowledge-wise to tell our clients how to do it. There lies a huge opportunity. Thank you. I believe we have a few questions.
We have a few questions. I would just like to mention, in fact, Rupen has given a very elaborate overview of what opportunities are available. I would just like to say one thing, in fact, why we should make in India. We should make in India, and we should also focus on this, because at the end of the day, dragons and eagles don't rule the jungle. So it's we are going to rule it. Thank you.
The lions will rule it.
Yeah, the lions would rule the jungle in any case, and that is why the logo you see of Make in India is made of several lions and wheels. Thank you.
So would you like to
questions
take,
are there? I think we can take 2-3 questions.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time we don't have
Correct.
much. One question is that I think is
Mudra Bank.
answer is how can CA in industry contribute towards or engage in India growth story?
Yeah, I think we have a question from CA Gaurav from Chennai. He has asked, how can a CA in industry contribute towards or engage in India growth story apart from a corporate role? See, there are many opportunities that there are. I've given you the statistics of the number of startups, and I think it is just the beginning. I think it would be an embarrassment for a company the size of India to have just 4,200 startups. It should be at least 100 times of that. Right? So basically, including IPR, now that the regime has been relaxed, now that it has been very easy for you to become an entrepreneur, even if you are in job, keep on looking for such opportunities. And if you go to any site of the government right now, you will find a very proactive, consumer-friendly or a citizen-friendly approach towards anything. Gone are the days when it used to be a blank wall, which which we all dreaded, that will not be able to get through the bureaucracy. That is gone. So we can contribute, even if you are intending to continue with your job. Just look around for opportunities or incubation centers that are coming up. Just go and sit there for some while. It's a very energy giving place. You will see a lot of ideas that are coming up by very young students, 20-22 years of age, who come up with such brilliant and innovative ideas. Somewhere, if this seed is sown in you, you will find a connection, and probably it will also trigger something in you. So I think many ways you can contribute. You can contribute by going part-time and teaching how to make a business plan. That is how you can begin.
One question which CA MP Srinivas has asked is how Mudra Bank functions, like SIDBI, NABARD or direct finance to customers. As I mentioned in my presentation, that Mudra would be responsible for refinancing rather than direct financing. In fact, it is a refinancing agency for all last mile financiers, such as non-banking financial companies, societies, trust, Section 8 companies, cooperative societies, small banks, scheduled commercial banks, and so on. So the functioning of Mudra Bank is not lending directly to the customer, but rather providing refinance to all these intermediaries. Another question, I think, which
I can take this
up.
Mr. K. Kumar from Bangalore, he said startup itself means it is a new venture in particular discipline, which hitherto has not been tried out, or supporting venture for other upward vertical industries. Yes, you have understood this correctly. In this situation, what sort of professional opportunity can be expected from the startups? Well, one is to identify where this activity is happening. With a lot of incubation centers that will spring across all over. If you're from Bangalore, I mean, it will be in your neighborhood that there will be an incubation center. They all require end-to-end services. Trust me. Most of them, even if they are bootstrapped, they require somebody who can take care of their entire finance, because most of these, especially in Bangalore, would be techies. So you can enter as a virtual CFO, provide end-to-end advisory services and take care of their entire finance and regulation side. This is how you can enter. Eventually, a lot of opportunities of valuations, a lot of opportunities in IPR, a lot of opportunities in, exit valuations and joint ventures, angel funding, private equity, due diligence, they will all come from these startups. If you take up 10 to 15 startups, at least 2 to 3 will have a fair chance of, becoming very successful. So I think that's how you start.
One question which Ankit Chauhan from Mumbai has asked: what is the role of incubators in case of a startup India, and how they will help the startups, and what one should do to get the recommendations and support of incubators in case of the startups? Now, incubators, as I have said, help entrepreneurs in solving some of the problems which are commonly associated with running a startup, like by providing workplace, seed funding, mentoring, training. All these things, I think, one can look up from incubators, in fact. And how they will help startups, it is necessary, in fact, for a startup to have a recommendation from an incubator. From where you can approach an incubator. In fact, the government has identified incubators. The list is available on the website. Go through them, approach them. And if your startup project or the idea is meeting the requirements of a startup, you will be getting a recommendation from a startup. There won't be any problem with that. If there is any problem, then approach the higher authorities. You can approach DIPP also in that case.
Okay, one last question I think I'll take from CA Sachin Jain, Surat. Banks are reluctant to give loans and Mudra loans. How do you approach them and what is the method of approaching? My experience has been completely different. Banks actually very proactive. You just need to find the right kind of manager who understands the value in giving such loans. The list of requirements are pretty self-explanatory, especially for the lower end loans, which is up to 5 lakh rupees. The Sishu and the Kishore ones. The Kishore ones probably require only a guarantor. That's it. No returns, no additional documents, and a few KYC documents are required besides that. Banks, I have not experienced them to be reluctant. I think you need to explore more options in terms of bank. Many nationalized banks are very proactively now giving Mudra loans. Between 5 to 10 lakhs, I believe only additional requirement that they have is the entrepreneur should have some business history, probably of 3 years. Again, this is specific to some banks. Not all banks would insist on that because it is a unsecured loan. Some of them insist of them having a 3-year history. But I can very confidently tell you that my experience, personal experience for Mudra has been excellent. Banks are looking to lend under Mudra. Shall we conclude?
Can I end here? It's already time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you all.